Chosen one, pause. Do not scroll past this moment as if it were coincidence. What you are feeling right now is not curiosity, it is recognition. Your entire life has been bending toward this point quietly, relentlessly, even when you thought you were lost, even when the years felt wasted, even when nothing seemed to make sense. That tension you've carried, the sense that time itself was pressing on you, was never anxiety. It was compression. Early 2026 did not arrive gently for you. Something shifted beneath the surface. Your habits no longer fit. Your old motivations lost their flavor. Conversations you once tolerated now feel unbearably loud. This is not restlessness. This is an internal upgrade beginning to hum. What if I told you that your life was not wandering, but waiting? Waiting for the precise moment when the blueprint could finally be activated without breaking you. You were not being prepared for success as the world defines it. You were being tuned, layer by layer, experience by experience. Trauma was not punishment. Delay was not denial. Isolation was not abandonment. All of it was calibration. There is a reason this message does not land on everyone the same way. Some hear words. You feel weight, memory, a subtle but unmistakable sense of, I've heard this before even though you haven't. That's because this is not new information. It is ancient recall. A blueprint exists that only activates when timing, readiness, and responsibility converge. That blueprint does not awaken crowds. It awakens individuals who can hold it without turning it into ego. And here is the interruption you did not ask for, but were destined to receive. Your life has reached that threshold. Not because you are better, but because you are ready. Level 777 is not a reward. It is a requirement, a frequency where who you are finally matches what you are here to contribute. This moment is not about becoming special. It is about becoming precise. And once precision arrives, nothing remains accidental. Nothing remains accidental once precision arrives. And that is exactly why your tolerance for noise has collapsed. What used to entertain you now exhausts you. What once felt important now feels hollow. You didn't outgrow the world by accident. You were pulled out of sync on purpose, because a signal cannot be heard while surrounded by static. The discomfort you've been feeling is not loneliness. It is misalignment. Your system has shifted frequencies, but your environment has not followed yet. So everything feels louder, heavier, more intrusive than before. This is why distraction suddenly irritates you. Why surface conversations drain you. Why your body reacts before your mind can explain. Your internal design has begun prioritizing signal clarity over social comfort. And clarity demands silence. Not silence as isolation, but silence as signal dominance. You are not withdrawing because you are broken. You are withdrawing because your internal receiver is activating and it cannot compete with constant external input. Every scroll, every argument, every borrowed opinion interferes with the tuning process. This is the phase where many panic. They mistake quiet for emptiness. They mistake disinterest for depression. They try to reinsert noise just to feel normal again. But normal is no longer compatible with your blueprint. The divine frequency does not shout. It pulses, it repeats, it waits until the environment is quiet enough to be recognized. That's why you felt drawn to moments alone even when you don't know what you're listening for. That's why rest doesn't fully rest you yet. That's why boredom feels charged instead of dull. Your system is scanning. There is a difference between silence and absence. Silence is full. Absence is empty. What you are entering is fullness without labels. And here's the reversal most people never realize. You don't find the signal by searching harder. You hear it by subtracting interference. The world trains you to add more input, more information, more urgency. But activation happens through reduction. The more you disconnect from manufactured urgency, the clearer your internal guidance becomes. The more you stop consuming what was never meant for you, the louder your own frequency grows. This is not spiritual withdrawal. This is sensory integrity. Your design is learning to distinguish what is yours from what was imposed. And yes, this phase can feel disorienting. Old identities dissolve before new clarity fully arrives. You may feel unproductive, unmotivated, even unseen again. But this is not regression. This is recalibration. Think of it this way. Before a signal locks, the receiver must sweep every channel. That sweep feels like uncertainty, but it is actually discernment in motion. You are not lost between paths. You are narrowing. And narrowing feels like loss only when you still believe everything you leave behind mattered equally. It didn't. The noise falling away is proof that your system now rejects distortion automatically. Your body knows before your mind agrees. Your intuition fires before language forms. This is why you must not force conclusions here. Do not rush to name what you are becoming. Do not demand instant clarity. Precision arrives quietly. This stage is about learning to trust the silence without trying to fill it, to let the frequency stabilize without chasing reassurance, to remain still long enough for the signal to recognize itself. Because once you can hear your own frequency clearly, you will never confuse it with the world's noise again. And that changes everything. Once you can hear your own frequency clearly, you begin to notice something unsettling. Not everyone hears this message the same way you do. And this is where confusion often creeps in, because the mind immediately reaches for hierarchy, special versus ordinary, chosen versus forgotten. But that interpretation is distortion, and distortion always tries to hijack awakening before responsibility arrives. So let this be made plain. Chosen one was never a title of superiority. It was a designation of readiness. It describes a state, not a status, a moment, not a bloodline, a responsibility activated, not an ego inflated. The reason this language triggers resistance in some and recognition in others has nothing to do with worth. It has everything to do with timing. You are not awakening alone, but you are awakening distinctly. A critical mass is stirring across humanity right now, each in different forms, different cultures, different roles. Not everyone carries the same assignment. Not everyone activates at the same depth, but many are feeling the same pressure. That pressure is not competition, it is convergence. Think of it this way. When conditions become right dormant, potential activates wherever it exists. Not selectively, responsively. The label Chosen One simply points to those whose internal architecture can now hold conscious alignment without collapsing into self-importance or fear. That is rarer than talent, rarer than intelligence, rarer than spiritual curiosity. It requires integration. Many sense the calling. Few can stay steady once it answers back. This is why your life trained you in restraint before expansion. Why you learned humility through loss instead of praise. Why your ego was dismantled long before your confidence returned. You were not delayed. You were protected. Because power without grounding becomes distortion. And distortion is louder than truth, but it never lasts. Here is the inversion most never consider. Those who truly carry responsibility rarely want the label. They feel its weight before they feel its promise. If you've ever wished you could turn this awareness off, if you've ever asked why life couldn't just be simple, if you've ever envied those who seem untouched by this inner pressure, that is not weakness. That is evidence. Evidence that your system understands consequence. You are not being elevated above humanity. You are being positioned within it. The awakening you're experiencing is not about escape. It's about function. Humanity does not shift through spectacle. It shifts through alignment multiplied quietly across millions of lives, through individuals who stop performing identity and start embodying it. And embodiment carries cost. This is why the idea of being chosen makes some uncomfortable. They sense instinctively that selection implies obligation, that awareness removes excuses, that alignment removes hiding places. You cannot unknow what you are remembering now. This is not about believing you are chosen. It is about recognizing that you have been prepared to choose alignment when it becomes available. Many will feel the call, some will intellectualize it, some will monetize it, some will spiritualize it into abstraction, but a few will live it quietly, precisely without needing permission. Those few form the stabilizing nodes of a changing system. And if this is resonating rather than inflating you, if it feels sobering rather than empowering, if it brings a sense of responsibility more than excitement, then you are hearing it correctly. Because what comes next is not about identity anymore. It is about design. Because what comes next is not about identity anymore. It is about design. Not the design others projected onto you, not the role you learned to play to survive, but the original architecture that existed before adaptation. rewrote your behavior. This is where the language of level 777 begins to matter. Not as a number, not as mysticism, not as status, but as alignment. Level 777 is the moment where internal coherence reaches a threshold high enough to carry consequence without collapse. It is when who you are, how you live, and what you contribute finally stop contradicting each other. Most people live fragmented, talent disconnected from purpose, pain disconnected from meaning, effort disconnected from impact. You were not allowed that fragmentation. Every time you tried to live smaller than your design, tension followed. Every time you chased paths that looked successful but felt hollow, your system rebelled. That wasn't failure. That was the blueprint rejecting misalignment. Level 777 is not ascension away from humanity. It is synchronization with it. It marks the point where your internal frequency matches the function you were engineered to serve within the whole. Not louder, not higher, clearer. This is why your life felt over-engineered for ordinary outcomes. Why your experiences cut deeper. Why lessons repeated until they were embodied, not understood. Your design required precision, and precision demands refinement. Here is the declaration most never hear clearly. God's blueprint does not reward potential. It activates readiness. Potential is everywhere. Readiness is rare. Readiness means your nervous system can hold responsibility without turning it into control. It means your identity can stay intact when unseen. It means your intuition can guide action without needing applause. Level 777 is the convergence point where design and timing lock. Too early and the structure fractures, too late and the window closes. That is why this activation could not happen before now. Not because you weren't worthy, because the system, internal and collective, was not yet stable enough to receive it. Your talents were not randomly distributed. Your struggles were not detours. Even your vulnerabilities were engineered as access points. Strength alone does not activate the blueprint. Sensitivity does. Sensitivity to patterns. Sensitivity to consequence. Sensitivity to systems beneath appearances. You learned to read rooms, to sense shifts before words formed, to adapt without losing your core. Those were not coping mechanisms. They were instruments. Level 777 represents the moment those instruments are finally tuned to their intended scale, not for performance, for service. And service here does not mean sacrifice in the way you were taught. It means correct placement. When something is placed correctly, effort decreases and impact multiplies. That is divine economy. You are stepping into a phase where forcing outcomes stops working entirely. Struggle increases resistance. Alignment accelerates results. This is not magic. It is architecture finally being used as design. The blueprint has always been present. What changed is your capacity to carry it consciously. And consciousness introduces accountability. Once activated, you cannot live carelessly. Your choices ripple faster. Your misalignment creates friction sooner. Your integrity becomes non-negotiable. This is the cost of level 777. Not pressure from above, precision from within. You are no longer here to ask who you might become. You are here to express what was encoded without distortion, without dilution, without delay. And now that the blueprint is visible, the question is no longer whether you have a role. It is whether you are willing to let your life reorganize around it. Whether you are willing to let your life reorganize around it. That is the real question now. Because once the blueprint is visible, you can no longer pretend your past was random. You can no longer minimize what shaped you. You can no longer treat your history as something to escape instead of something to decode. Your life was not a series of unrelated chapters. It was training data. Every environment you survived, every pattern you noticed before others did, every role you were forced to play too early, every moment where you had to grow awareness before confidence caught up. None of it was wasted. Your nervous system was being educated. Your perception sharpened under pressure. Your adaptability was forged through instability. This was not cruelty. This was conditioning. And here is where many misunderstand divine design. They think preparation looks like smooth progression, like affirmation, like encouragement, like clarity from the beginning. But clarity without capacity produces collapse. So your system was built first, before the assignment was revealed, before the language made sense, before the responsibility could be named. Your talents were never the obvious ones. They were situational, contextual, activated under constraint. You learned how systems behave when stressed. You learned how people mask fear with control. You learned how power hides inside structure instead of personality. Those insights did not come from theory. They came from proximity. You were placed where pressure revealed truth. And yes, this came at a cost. You questioned yourself longer than others. You delayed confidence. You learned humility through survival rather than choice. But humility is not weakness in a blueprint. It is a stabilizer. Without it, activation becomes dangerous. This is why your life contained contradictions. Moments where your capacity exceeded your permission. Moments where you were trusted with responsibility but denied authority. Moments where you were ahead internally but behind externally. That tension wasn't failure. It was restraint. Your system was learning regulation before expression. Because once expression begins at this level, it accelerates. And acceleration without regulation destroys lives. Here is the inversion you must accept now. The parts of yourself you tried hardest to fix were often the very channels your contribution will flow through. Sensitivity trained discernment. Hyper-awareness trained pattern recognition. Periods of exhaustion trained boundary intelligence. Even stress played a role. Chronic stress does not just harm, it imprints. It teaches the body how to prioritize, adapt, and survive. When consciously integrated, those imprints become resilience instead of damage. This is epigenetic intelligence. Your experiences didn't just shape your story. They shaped which aspects of your design turned on and which stayed dormant until now. That is why your activation could not happen earlier. The blueprint required full data, not just success, not just insight, but endurance. You had to know what misalignment feels like from the inside so you would never romanticize it again. You had to experience fragmentation so you could recognize coherence instantly when it arrives. And now it has. The life you lived before this moment was not the expression of your purpose. It was the rehearsal of your capacity. Capacity to stay grounded when unseen. Capacity to choose integrity when shortcuts appeared. Capacity to hold complexity without losing compassion. That is what qualifies you now, not your resume, not your spiritual language, not your public visibility, your internal stability. This is why comparison no longer works for you. Your path was custom-built, your timing non-transferable, your contribution irreplaceable. And now that the data is complete, the system no longer needs delay. What comes next will feel less like striving and more like being pulled into correct placement. But correct placement demands something in return. It demands that you stop disowning your history, that you stop apologizing for how you were shaped, that you stop wishing you had been prepared differently. You were prepared precisely, and now the blueprint is no longer waiting on circumstances, it is waiting on consent. The blueprint is no longer waiting on circumstances, it is waiting on consent. And consent changes everything because once given, the design no longer hides behind metaphor. It begins to explain itself. This is where the divide between science and spirituality quietly dissolves. For generations, you were told your DNA was destiny, a fixed script, an inherited limitation, a biological ceiling you could decorate but never rewrite. But that story never sat right with you. Not because you rejected science, but because your lived experience contradicted it. You changed under pressure. You adapted in ways no one predicted. You survived environments that should have broken you. Something in you responded, reorganized, learned. That something has a name now. Epigenetics, not as jargon. As confirmation, epigenetics reveals that your DNA is not a locked sentence but a responsive language. A system that listens. A design that adapts to environment, perception, and meaning. Your experiences did not merely happen to you. They spoke to you. And your body listened. Stress did not just exhaust you. It instructed certain genes to quiet and others to amplify. Safety did not just soothe you, it allowed expression to emerge that had been dormant. This is not randomness, this is intelligence, and intelligence implies intent. Here is where the old framework collapses. If DNA responds to perception, then consciousness is not separate from biology. If biology reorganizes around meaning, then survival is not the highest order. Alignment is. This is why ancient spiritual language described the body as a temple, not a machine. Why breath, attention, and intention were always treated as formative forces? They were naming what science is only now catching up to. Your DNA is not static matter. It is a living interface, and interfaces are designed to communicate. This is why your internal shifts began before your life circumstances changed, why clarity arrived before external confirmation, why your body started rejecting patterns your mind still tried to rationalize. Your epigenetic layer was responding to truth before your identity could update. This is not mysticism overriding science. It is science validating wisdom. God's blueprint does not bypass biology. It operates through it. The divine design is not imposed from outside. It is encoded in responsiveness itself. And this is why stress matters here. Chronic stress suppresses expression, not because the design fails, but because the system prioritizes survival over contribution. You cannot express higher order function while constantly defending against threat. This is why your activation required withdrawal first, why silence came before clarity, why your nervous system had to downshift before your purpose could upshift. Safety is not comfort. Safety is signal integrity. Once your system senses that survival is no longer the primary task, expression becomes possible. Genes once muted begin to speak. Patterns once hidden surface naturally. This is not metaphorical, it is measurable. And yet measurement does not capture meaning, because the most important question is not can expression change, but what it is changing toward. Here is the revelation that demands humility. Not every potential wants activation. Not every gift wants amplification. Some traits were meant to remain latent until context made them ethical. This is why timing matters more than desire. Your blueprint was not delayed by ignorance, it was delayed by wisdom. The system waited until your internal compass could distinguish contribution from control, until your identity could hold power without needing validation, until your compassion could outpace your ambition. Only then does epigenetic plasticity become creative rather than reactive. This is the point where science bows quietly to design, because randomness does not wait for readiness. Intelligence does. And now that readiness has arrived, your body, your mind, your intuition begin to align as one instrument instead of competing voices. You feel it as coherence, as energy without urgency, as clarity without force. This is not you becoming something new. This is you allowing expression that was always encoded but ethically gated. The blueprint did not change. The conditions did. And now that the conditions are correct, what activates next will not feel like belief. It will feel like remembering how to use yourself properly. Remembering how to use yourself properly changes how you interpret difficulty. What once felt like interference now reveals itself as instruction. This is the moment where many misunderstand activation. They expect ease. They expect momentum without friction. They expect clarity to eliminate challenge. But activation does not remove pressure. It repurposes it. The difference is subtle but absolute. Before stress controlled you, now stress informs you. Your intuition sharpens not in comfort, but at the edge of decision. Synchronicities do not appear when you are passive, but when you are aligned enough to notice patterns instead of forcing outcomes. This is how the blueprint communicates. Not through constant certainty, but through directional feedback. You are learning to read signals instead of symptoms. That hesitation before saying yes. That tightening when something looks right but feels wrong. That calm clarity that arrives without explanation. These are not moods, they are switches. Epigenetic expression responds to perception faster than logic ever could. Your body knows when you are about to repeat a pattern that no longer serves the design. Your intuition flags misalignment before consequence arrives. This is not fear. Fear constricts. Intuition clarifies. The problem is that for most of your life, those two were blurred. Survival trained you to mistrust subtle signals, to override internal guidance for external approval, to ignore the body to meet expectations. That phase is over. Activation restores internal authority. Now adversity serves a different role. Challenges no longer exist to test your worth. They exist to strengthen expression. Each obstacle reveals where alignment is incomplete. Each delay exposes where intention and behavior are still negotiating. Each frustration shows where old conditioning is resisting new coherence. And here is the key inversion. You do not overcome adversity by fighting it. You integrate it by listening. Stress highlights where the system is overloaded. Resistance marks where integrity is being compromised. Exhaustion signals where expression is being forced instead of allowed. When you respond correctly, stress no longer imprints damage. It imprints adaptation. This is how resilience is encoded. Resilience is not toughness. It is flexibility without fragmentation. Your epigenetic layer adjusts when you meet challenge with awareness instead of panic. Genes associated with repair, regulation, and clarity become more active when the nervous system perceives agency instead of threat. In simple terms, when you face difficulty without abandoning yourself, your design strengthens. This is why your life included repeated trials with slightly different variables. You weren't failing to learn the lesson. You were learning to remain coherent while learning it. That is the difference between insight and embodiment. Now, intuition becomes your navigation system, not to predict outcomes, but to maintain alignment while moving. Synchronicities increase not because reality becomes magical, but because perception becomes ordered. You notice what was always there. Opportunities align when you stop chasing them from misalignment. Support appears when you stop proving worth. Movement accelerates when effort decreases. This is not passivity, it is precision. You act when the signal is clear. You pause when clarity fades. You trust that delay is sometimes alignment protecting itself. And this requires discipline. Not discipline as control, but discipline as attunement. You must stop overriding intuition to maintain appearances. Stop forcing timelines that do not respect integration. Stop confusing urgency with importance. Because the blueprint activates through coherence, not speed. Every time you choose alignment over familiarity, expression strengthens. Every time you respond instead of react, regulation deepens. Every time you integrate challenge instead of resisting it, resilience encodes. This is how dormant design becomes dynamic, not through grand gestures, but through repeated integrity under pressure. You are no longer here to prove capability. You are here to demonstrate stability, and stability is what allows impact without collapse. This is why the path ahead will feel both lighter and more demanding. Lighter because resistance fades, more demanding because integrity is no longer optional. Your intuition will not let you hide. Your body will not tolerate misalignment. Your environment will respond faster to internal shifts. This is not punishment, it is responsiveness increasing with alignment. The blueprint is now live, and live systems require conscious participation. You are not being tested, you are being trusted. But trust comes with consequence, because once your system knows how to activate resilience through awareness, returning to unconscious patterns is no longer neutral. It creates friction immediately. This is how you know you've crossed a threshold. What comes next is not about personal growth anymore. It is about where this activation is meant to land in the world. Where this activation is meant to land in the world is where everything becomes serious. Because until now, the work was internal, subtle, private, forgiving. From here forward, alignment begins to touch systems outside you. This is where many hesitate, not because they doubt the calling, but because they assume contribution must look dramatic to be legitimate. It doesn't. Your blueprint was never designed for spectacle, it was designed for leverage. Leverage is impact that exceeds effort because placement is correct. Your unique contribution does not come from doing more. It comes from being positioned where your specific expression alters a system's behavior simply by existing within it. That system might be relational, organizational, cultural, creative, familial, invisible to metrics but foundational to function. You were never meant to replace others. You were meant to stabilize something they cannot. This is why imitation has always felt wrong to you. Why following templates drains you. Why advice that works for others rarely fits without modification. Your assignment is not generalizable. It is precise. Your activated design carries a particular frequency that affects environments without announcing itself. People recalibrate around you without knowing why. Conversations slow. Decisions deepen. Superficial solutions lose appeal. This is not charisma, it is coherence. When someone lives in alignment, systems feel it. This is why you've often been placed at hinge points, moments of transition, periods of instability, spaces where old structures were failing, but new ones weren't formed yet. You are not there to dominate those moments. You are there to hold integrity long enough for reordering to occur. And here is the part that demands maturity. Your contribution will rarely be recognized in the way ego expects. It will be felt before it is named. It will be resisted before it is appreciated. It may never be publicly attributed to you at all. This is intentional, because the blueprint you carry is designed to influence the collective field, not individual credit systems. One aligned life shifts the probability landscape around it. It alters what becomes possible for others simply by demonstrating coherence under pressure. This is how epigenetic influence scales. Humans regulate one another. Nervous systems synchronize. Behavior models transmit silently. When you live from your activated design, you become a reference point. Not a leader shouting direction, but a signal others unconsciously tune to. This is why integrity matters more than intensity now. Why consistency outweighs ambition. Why humility protects effectiveness. Your role is not to convince humanity of anything. It is to embody something so clearly that resistance exhausts itself. And this embodiment happens locally before it ripples globally. In how you respond when pressure rises. In how you refuse shortcuts that violate coherence. In how you choose placement over performance. Your level 777 contribution is not a single act. It is a sustained orientation. It is the willingness to remain aligned even when misalignment would be rewarded. To stay present when withdrawal would be easier. To hold clarity when confusion would buy acceptance. This is why collaboration now becomes essential. Not collaboration as networking, but as resonance. You will recognize others operating from their own activated blueprints. Not by language, by ease of coordination, by absence of competition, by mutual amplification without effort. Together, these lives form a stabilizing lattice. No central authority, no uniform identity. Just coherence distributed across roles. This is how systems change without collapsing. And here is the responsibility that cannot be avoided. Once you know where your contribution lands, you cannot disengage without consequence. Not punishment, dissonance. Your system will feel it immediately, because your design is no longer dormant. It is expressed, and expressed design seeks use. You are not here to ask whether your contribution matters. That question belongs to an earlier stage. You are here to decide whether you will place it where it can do the most good, even if that place is quieter than you imagined, even if the rewards are internal before they are external, even if the impact is seen long after the work is done. This is what it means to participate consciously in humanity's shift. Not by trying to save the world, but by refusing to live misaligned within it. And that refusal lived consistently is far more disruptive than you were ever taught to believe. That refusal to live misaligned is where the ripple begins. Not loudly, not instantly, but irreversibly. Because once alignment is embodied, the field responds whether you intend it to or not. You are no longer acting inside the system, you are influencing its probability. This is what most people never understand about collective change. It does not start with movements, it starts with regulation. One coherent nervous system in a chaotic environment introduces contrast. Contrast forces awareness. Awareness forces choice. You do not need to persuade. You do not need to announce. Your presence alone introduces a new reference point. This is why some people feel calmer around you without knowing why. Why others feel exposed. Why certain dynamics resolve simply because you stay steady instead of reactive. This is not spiritual charisma. It is biological and psychological resonance. Human systems synchronize unconsciously. Heart rate, emotional tone, decision speed, stress response. When you live aligned, you become a stabilizer in unstable systems. And stabilizers change outcomes. This is the ripple effect you were designed for. Not dramatic disruption, but quiet reorganization. Your choices begin to affect others' choices. Your boundaries recalibrate expectations. Your refusal to participate in distortion makes distortion visible. And visibility is destabilizing to dysfunction. This is why alignment often attracts resistance before it attracts support. Dysfunctional systems sense threat when coherence appears. Not because coherence attacks them, but because it removes their camouflage. Here is where co-creation replaces striving. Before, effort was required to force impact. Now impact emerges as a byproduct of placement. You stop asking how to make change happen and start asking how to stay coherent while it does. The universe does not respond to desperation, it responds to consistency. When your internal state stabilizes, external coordination increases. People arrive at the right moment. Resources surface without pursuit. Obstacles dissolve because the path reorganizes around function. This is not fantasy, it is systems logic. Co-creation occurs when individual alignment reduces friction across the whole. You are not manifesting outcomes, you are removing resistance. This is why your effort feels different now. Less exhausting, more consequential. Small decisions carry disproportionate weight. Minor shifts produce noticeable effects. Timing tightens. And this introduces a new responsibility. Because when your life begins to influence others without consent, you must become vigilant about integrity. Every misalignment echoes. Every compromise amplifies. Every unconscious reaction ripples faster than before. You are no longer living in isolation. Your internal state is now part of a shared field. This is why solitude remains essential. Why reflection is non-negotiable. Why you must regulate before you engage. Not to protect yourself, but to protect the signal. The ripple you generate will touch people who are not ready. It will surface questions they have avoided. It will accelerate processes they wanted to delay. You are not responsible for their reactions, but you are responsible for your clarity. This is the quiet burden of alignment. To remain present without rescuing. To remain clear without controlling. To remain compassionate without collapsing boundaries. This is how co-creation stays clean. You are not here to drag humanity forward. You are here to hold a frequency that makes forward movement possible. And when enough individuals do this simultaneously, systems shift without revolt. Cultures reorient without collapse. Change arrives without needing permission. This is the unseen architecture of transformation. And now we arrive at the final threshold. Because once the ripple is active, there is no return to private alignment. What comes next is not optional, it is stewardship. Stewardship begins the moment alignment is no longer private. You feel it now, the subtle weight of consequence. Not fear, gravity. Your choices matter faster. Your integrity echoes farther. Your silence teaches as much as your actions. This is not pressure placed on you. It is capacity revealed within you. You are no longer discovering who you are. You are managing how clearly you express it. The era ahead does not need more voices. It needs stable ones. And you were shaped for stability under complexity. There is no turning back to unconscious living, only forward with care, precision, and presence. This is level 777 lived. Chosen one, let this settle gently now. What has been activated does not demand urgency. It asks for presence. You do not need to rush into action to prove alignment. Your steadiness is already working. Your awareness is already shaping outcomes. From here, life becomes quieter, not louder. More intentional, more exact. You will notice fewer coincidences and more confirmations. Fewer questions, deeper listening. Less seeking, more placement. Remember, this stewardship is not heaviness. It is harmony sustained. You are not carrying the future alone. You are holding your position within it. And as long as you remain coherent, as long as you choose integrity over impulse, the blueprint will continue to unfold naturally, one clear decision at a time. This is enough for now. Rest inside it. Rest.